Hi there, and welcome to this second reading, Simple Readings on Faith. Today I'm going to be reading from this book, Living the Dream by my friend Dave Smith. It's a book, a commentary really on the life of Joseph in the Old Testament. Really great book, highly recommend it, but I'm turning quite near the end when he speaks about the end of Joseph's life, and it's under the title Faith for the Future. So as with yesterday, I'm just simply going to read the book. I found it helpful in my research for the message that I brought just a week or so ago. So here we go. Faith for the Future. As wonderful as the example of Joseph is to us, and you'd have had that example if you'd read this book, throughout his life and towards the end of his life, there is one final detail of Joseph's life that is arguably the most remarkable of all: his faith for his future beyond the grave. It is this that hundreds of years later the writer of the Hebrews chose to highlight. Hebrews 11 verse 22 NLT. It was by faith that Joseph, when he was about to die, said confidently that the people of Israel would leave Egypt. He even commanded them to take his bones with them when they left. Now, apparently greater than his dreams, his ability to forgive, his strength against sexual temptations, his patience in prison, his interpretation of dreams, his rule over Egypt, his reconciliation with his brothers, his serving of his family and his saving of Egypt, was Joseph's faith for the future of his bones. So striking is the selection of this fact in the great faith chapter of Hebrews 11 that it's worth studying the fuller Genesis account in more detail. Let me read to you then from the book Genesis 50. Soon I will die, Joseph told his brothers, but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of this land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath, and he said, when God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Now later in the book of Joshua, we see that Joseph's faith was rewarded. This is from Joshua 24:32. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought along with them when they left Egypt, were buried at Shechem, in the plot of land Jacob had bought from the sons of Hamor for 100 pieces of silver. This land was located in the territory allotted to the descendants of Joseph. So, what was so remarkable about this final episode in Joseph's later life that caused the writer of Hebrews to emphasize this particular act of faith? In order to understand this more fully, we need to look at both the nature of Joseph's faith and then at what he was looking forward to. So, what faith is. What was the faith of Joseph and the great biblical heroes? The writer of Hebrews gives a succinct definition, Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. From this we can see that faith is linked to hope, but different to hope. It is related to the unseen, yet is somehow very tangible, as implied by the use of the two words substance and evidence. Substance has the sense substance has the sense of that which underlies a thing, or the basis of something, and is often linked to the idea of holding the title deeds to something. Evidence implies an inner confidence. Joseph's faith was both sure and confident. Moreover, Joseph's faith was true in another respect. It was both expressed in words and in actions. Biblical faith is seen as a spoken faith. Whether it be the faith Jesus exercised to curse the fig tree, Mark 11:20-22, or the faith he needed to be saved, Romans 10:8-10, true faith starts in the heart and flows out of the mouth. Joseph spoke out and declared his faith in the future. But faith not only needs to be spoken, it must be acted upon. Check out James 2:14-26. Most of the examples used in the great chapter of Hebrews 11 show the heroes demonstrating their faith through their actions, as in Abel offering the sacrifice, Noah building the ark, and Abraham leaving his country and offering his son. Although Joseph obviously did not take his bones to Canaan, he was sufficiently sure of what God had promised that he acted upon what he believed, insisting that his brothers solemnly swear to take his bones out of Egypt. If we, too, want to grow in faith, we must continually ensure that we not only believe with our hearts, but also speak out with our mouths and step out in action, in line with what we believe God has spoken to us. Now, I'm not talking about acting presumptuously if God has not spoken, but rather speaking and acting boldly, knowing when he has. And Joseph's faith was both in word and deed. It was also both personal and concerned with the broader purposes of God for his people. Joseph was clearly a man who was prepared to see the bigger picture. His faith was not just a selfish faith that focused on getting God to meet his every whim, nor was it a quick fix faith, which is sadly so often the case in the body of Christ today. Rather, it was a deep faith which focused on God's long-term purposes for his people. The contrast between the young 17-year-old dreamer and the mature leader is striking. No longer focused just on himself and his own elevation, he now seems to have fully grasped that his role in life was part of a much bigger plan that went before him and would carry on after him. Based on a promise first made to his great-grandfather and fulfilled by his own descendants 4 centuries later. Such a perspective is particularly necessary for us today, especially those of us living in essentially short-term individualistic Western culture. Certainly, each of us has our own dream to dream and destiny to fulfill, but our own personal life goals must ultimately be viewed through the lens of the global, end-time purposes of an eternal God working through his Son, Jesus Christ. That doesn't mean, however, that our faith cannot and should not be concerned with personal matters. It is important to note that Joseph's big picture perspective concerning the exodus from Egypt and the return to Canaan also included a very definite confidence in his own personal participation in the fulfillment of God's promises, as represented by his very specific request concerning the future of his bones. God is a big God, but he cares intimately about every detail of our lives. Well, it's a great book, and I'd love to read on, but time's gone. Living the Dream by Pastor Dave Smith. I hope you found that helpful.